Buhari administration today is doing is undemocratic and unconstitutional. And no matter what he does, because today he is a president and commander-in-chief, and he has forgotten the time that he had a protest and he was tear gassed and he went to court and there was a judgment that said that you don't need to ask police for permission. What you need to ask from them is for them to come and give protection, and you could give them 48 hours notice. Today, President Muhammadu Buhari suddenly finds himself as a president and commander-in-chief, and then he has turned to the same person who is now using tear gas on protesters, the same person who is now killing people for protesting, the same person who under his administration people are being taken away one after the other from their houses and they are missing. Showore is in custody. Dadiata, nobody knows where he is. A whole lot of Okefas is missing. Jones Abiri is also missing. A whole lot of people are being taken away. And if Muhammadu Buhari thinks that by taking us away one after the other is going to shut down our voices, I'm going to tell him, no, it's not going to happen that way. He should remember that when Nigerians were fighting for this democracy, and some of them paid the ultimate price, they died for it, he was nowhere to be found. He was hiding wherever he was, whether in Daura or Kaduna or wherever he was. We never heard the voice of Muhammadu Buhari when Nigerians went through what they went through. And so that democracy today that he's enjoying, he should remember that we'll continue to fight for it. We'll continue to speak. If he wants to pick all of us up, he should build enough prison to accommodate all of us.
But you sound very interesting, but you know that you can't dare to go to the street in Abuja for a protest.
Why not? I've been on the street several times. I've been
not at this moment. I remember last week some persons came out for protest, and the way the police took over the entire place, and even a prison van was seen in the scene of the protest. Then a lot of persons kept asking questions. Is the prison van there to pick criminals? You are saying this because you are on national television. I want to believe that's what is happening. You can talk and nobody will stop you. But going to the streets, do you have that nerves to do that now?
I think the thing with Nigerians is the fact that we have such short memories. And then when things are happening to other people, we assume that it is none of our business. For how many times have we been on the street, either on Bring Back Our Girls protest or any other protest, we've been attacked by police. We've had whole lot of them attacking us. And Nigerians looked away. And that time we were shouting that the democratic space, the Nigerian democratic space is being shrunk by Buhari's administration. People looked the other way. So why would I not be on the street? Let me tell you something, Ijoma. In Nigeria, none of us is alive. From Muhammadu Buhari to whoever of us, we are not alive. So we are merely surviving.
You are breathing.
We are merely. Is that life? Is that life? We go home.
What's your definition of life?
Definition of life is having a nation where the child of nobody can become somebody without knowing anybody. Where your life could be protected. When you're missing from your house, your government will do everything to find you. You go through, you're not trying to find out which potholes are on whatever road you're using. You're going home, you feel safe. You don't hide. You don't force yourself not to travel or certain roads because you'll be taken away. That is my definition of living. Where the child of nobody, the child of a policeman and the child of the president will have access to good quality education. Where the woman that is selling ugu on the market knows that even when she works hard and she trains her child will be able to get a job. Not the one that jobs are being given through the back door for the children of who is who in this country. Where it is not, you are not only a Nigerian during election when they need your thumbprint, but that we are all Nigerians at every time. A country where governance is given. And I tell you, we don't have that country. And Muhammadu Buhari would dare not intimidate us in our own country, because no Nigerian is more Nigerian than any Nigerian. The only reason why I was not on the protest that happened last week because I was on admission. I had an operation, a major operation. You have to know, they had to be brought in here today to do this. And yes. I will walk on that street. There is only one life. Look, may I tell you something? You understand me? We drop this English. Now, Niger Delta, babe, now be. Die, now die. Now, only one die, now we get. And then why that die happen, and so that die could be. You understand? If we all have to die for Nigeria to be a better nation, so be it. And I have said this before, and I say it again, and I've said it repeatedly, that revolution is imminent in Nigeria. It is either we have a bloodless revolution or we have a bloody revolution. It is in us to decide what kind of revolution do we want. And for every one of us, the educated ones, who at least have that knowledge, we can afford to square me. It is time for us to do the bloodless revolution where we are changing system. Because if we do not do that, the poor man that is hungry on the street, we have a bloody revolution, and he will not know the difference between those who have truncated governance in this country and those who are fighting for governance. The fact that you have a job or you have a clean shirt will make you a victim, and they're going to come after every one of us. And when that happens, you know the saddest things, all these politicians that have made Nigeria what they are today will fly out of the country on private jet, and they will leave us to face the consequences. Are we ready for that?
Now, let me ask you a question. I remember I brought you to this studio some time ago. You didn't just accuse President Muhammadu Buhari's regime, you also accuse the regime of also their high-handedness when it comes to protests and all that. So you don't need to blame just this government.
Hello, Ijoma. Good evening.
Good night.
Who is the president today? You want me to go and start talking about former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan? I spoke about him when he was in power. You want me to talk about former president, the late President Yaradua, or you want me to go to Obasanjo, or you want me to travel where? This issue of high-handedness have been there, but because it has happened before, does not give President Muhammadu Buhari the right to continue it. Because when he came in 2015, he said he was going to give change. And when we asked for change, we were not asking for change of initials from GEJ to GMB or PMB or whatever it is. We wanted change in the way governance was done. President Muhammadu Buhari might not value his words. He says certain things and he does certain things, other things, different from what he said. But remember in Chatham House, February 2015, Muhammadu Buhari stood and said to the whole world that he's a reformed Democrat. Is this how a reformed Democrat behaves? Where citizens can no longer speak, when you're picked up from your house, where you're being threatened, they send halts every time we get life threats and all of that. Look, let me tell you something. I think one of the things we have not realized in Nigeria is the fact that yesterday's victims were once survivors. Today's victims were yesterday's survivors. And tomorrow's victims would be today's survivors. And I say again, those who have died before will not die again. The next to be killed will be those of us that are alive. And it is better for us to do the right thing because we don't know who is next. And in Nigeria today, being a victim is no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Because the victim card is going round and we don't know who next is going to fall on top. So it is in our interest to ensure that Nigeria works. People that looked the other way when BBOG were being attacked, I remember when we were tear gas, I was shot by the Distant police, one tear gas canister here, one there, because later on the policeman would say, oh, we smoked you, because I'm the stubborn one. Remember when my hands were raised, I was almost dying. Or the only thing I said to God, I said, look, don't let me come down here. Even if I'm going to die, let me get to my house and die. A lot of people praised them. When Shiites were being attacked, were being killed, people were praising. Now it is getting to every one of us and people are feeling it. If we don't come out to do the right thing, the worst thing will happen to all of us.
All right, next? I will come back to you and I will come back with the other side of your...
Because I personally have been on the streets for like over 5 years, and I've met with a lot of policemen and women on duty when it comes to protest. Over time, there is a cordial relationship between the protesters and the police when there's no order from above.
Really?
Yes. We laugh, we joke, because most of them, what we are protesting for affects them. So even when they are standing and blocking you, you hear, we are with you. We are just doing our job, even when they are sent. Otherwise, they protect, they give that protection and all of that, we do that. But you see a situation where when the attack is coming or when there's that order from above, you see different kinds of treatment from the police. The last time we were attacked at the Bring Back Our Girls movement, do you know what they did? They sought the normal police that would come, and because it depends, from Unity Fountain, there's a particular set of them that this is their territory, they are there and all of that. When they were going to do that tear gassing and all of that, beat us up, tear gas us, they changed them. So that, you know, the ones that they know, they will have that relationship with them or whatever. So there's a difference. Of course, every person has a right. Where my rights start That's where yours ends. Where mine ends, that's where yours starts. If you're protesting, does not mean that the other person that is not protesting, you're going to block his way or anything. That is not acceptable at all. That is unlawful. And when we protest, we always do it in the lawful way. If you find any unlawful act, most of the time, it's from the Nigerian police. They are the ones that are always... Let's even use the Shiite as example. The Shiites were sitting at Unity Fountain. All of a sudden, the police came, took their chairs, took our chairs, the member of Bring Back Our Girls movement, attacked us. We refused to leave Unity Fountain because we said the Unity Fountain is a civic space and we must protect it. And I remember in 2018, when this happened, I said to the police, would you not rather have them at Unity Fountain where they come and sit down and protest, rather than where you will no longer be able to sit down or they go to the street? And what happened? People have died in the course of that. So in terms of the rights of people, of course, guaranteed in the law. Because I am protesting, I'm not going to block you from doing your own. It's not your business to protest. You don't have to. It's a right. I have a right to protest. You have a right not to protest and go on with your business. And of course, you see, people will follow those. Most times, it's the police that comes in and changes everything and ensures that everything becomes disorganized. And that is what we say is not acceptable. But let me put this on record, because most of us seem to forget that this democratic space, the first person, the main culprit, if I may use that word, of shrinking the civic space in Nigeria, sadly, ironically, is Professor Yemi, Professor Pastor, because he prefers Pastor to the Pastor. During the election, he removed the Professor and put Pastor. Pastor Yemi Osibanjo, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In 2017, he was the acting president, and it was during his time that they began to send policemen to Unity Fountain to cordon off that area and say that nobody was going to do a protest there. And you see, they will send like buses and buses and bus loads of policemen to come and throw away people who were protesting unarmed. Meanwhile, Nigerians were being killed in Benue, Taraba, Kaduna, Zamfara, and all of that. It started during the time of Professor Yemi Osibanjo, who is a son, who is a professor of law, who you would think that he, as a vice president, who would ensure that Nigeria, the Nigerian government was constitutional in what he did, and it obeyed the law to the core.
So that's why you think what is going on now, he's supposed to voice his own opinion.
Absolutely.
Or tell them to leave, to allow them.
What is the essence of the sun? What is the essence of the protest?
But you know what is going on in Hong Kong now? They left these protesters, but it has become a violent protest. They have gone to shut down airports and all that. That's exactly what I think Nigerian security agencies are trying to avoid.
Nobody should go ahead and shut down airports and whatever. Except of when we decide that, okay, the whole Nigerians decide that, look, we need to do an occupy and let the government listen to us. But for you to go and shut down people's businesses or stop people, that's absolutely not acceptable.
How can you guarantee Nigerians, when you take to the streets, that it will not turn violent? When people who are angry take up the protest, or the protest will not be overtaken by hoodlums?
There's nothing like overtaken by hoodlums. That's the line of the police every time. When does it happen? It will not turn violent if the police does what it is mandated to do constitutionally, by providing security. You understand? The first thing that the police would say is that, oh, I've been invited several times by DSS, by police. We sit down, they will tell you, oh, we think people are going to infiltrate. Who is going to infiltrate? How many protests have you seen turned violent that it was not police that instigated it? Even our own case, the Bring Back Our Girls movement, where we were tear gas, the only thing that we refused to react back, because we know we have to be law abiding. We have to show the Nigeria that we want. Even when police provoke us, we don't. The worst thing that we do is that we sit down. Yeah, there are certain times, there are certain groups of people when they protest and they cannot hold that in, and when the police attacks them, they too attack back. But we don't. I can tell you, over 90% of any protest that you see turned violent in Nigeria, police is the one that first of all is a culprit that instigates that violence, and people react. But most of the time we sit down.
So what do you want?
I've been on protests, several protests, that even when we go on this thing, they know us. We come in, we march. It is an intellectual thing. And that's the reason why I'm calling on every Nigerian. The education that you and I have is not for us alone. It's for millions of others that are not educated. So with that education, we can call for intellectual discussion. I don't need to fight you when I know I have mouth that if I say it to you in the next 1 week, you'll be thinking. I will slap you now. In the next 1 hour, you won't feel the pain. But there are certain words I will say to you in the next 1 year. when you think about it, you say, Kai. So intellectual discussion. And that's why we are saying, as much as let's speak out, let's ensure that things are changing. Because you know what? There is hunger in the land. When somebody is hungry, you cannot define what the person will do. Because when you're fighting, when there's that hunger, the fighting ability comes out very well. And Nigerians today are poorer than they were 5 years ago. They are more hungry than they were. They have a president who then said he cared, but he hasn't shown any care, who flaunts it in our faces every day, the good treatment he has. In short, let me even just a little bit of digressing to see the way the president abuses our sensibilities every day. At Daura, Muhammadu Buhari was reported to have said,
to have so much against this president.
He's my president, and everything he makes affects me. Ijoma, I can no longer travel to Kaduna by road. I'm forced to enter train and sometimes stand. It affects me. Don't let me forget what I wanted to say. In Daura, the president said that he talked about medical tourism. When he himself, he spent half of his time doing that. That is abusing our sensibility.